control. Have you ever wondered why someone can look you in the eyes, share your time, accept your effort, and still fail to see your worth? Control. That question burns inside because it feels like betrayal, not of love alone, but of the very truth of who you are. When a man ignores your value, control. It can feel as if the ground has shifted beneath you. You replay every word you said, every moment you gave, every sacrifice you made, control. And you wonder how he could miss what is so clear to you. But here is the truth: his blindness is not your reflection. His silence is not your sentence. Control. His inability to recognize your value is not proof that you have none. It is proof that he is not ready to rise to the level of what you bring. Think about this. Control. The world often teaches us to wait for validation, to hope that love will prove us right, to beg in silence for the recognition that should come naturally. Control. But living like that robs you of power. It keeps you trapped in a place where someone else's inability to see becomes the measure of your worth. Control. That is not the life you deserve. You were not created to shrink yourself for someone who cannot look beyond their own comfort. You were created to stand tall, to speak truth. Control. To draw boundaries, and to protect the treasure that is your heart. When he ignores your value, the first reaction is often to chase, to explain, to prove. Control. You want to show him with words or actions that you matter. But chasing a blind man does not open his eyes. It only tires your soul. Instead of shrinking, control. Imagine what happens when you rise. Imagine saying to yourself, if you cannot see my worth, I will not dim my light. Control. I will not beg for scraps when I carry abundance inside me. That shift is power. It turns pain into clarity, and it transforms silence into strength. Control. The core message is this: when he ignores your value, you do not need to fight for recognition. You need to stand firm in your truth. You need to say, with calm certainty, control. I am not here to convince you of what I already know. My worth does not depend on your vision. These words are not about anger or revenge. Control. They are about drawing a line that protects your dignity. They are about reclaiming your voice from the echo of neglect. They are about walking with confidence. Control. Even when someone else fails to follow. And here is the reward for holding that line: freedom. Freedom from the endless loop of self-doubt. Control. Freedom from the pain of trying to change someone who does not want to change. Freedom to invest your energy in people who see, who value, who uplift. Control. That freedom feels like air after being underwater. It feels like sunlight after days of gray. It reminds you that your story is not tied to someone else's blindness. Control. But to your own decision to rise. Stay with me, because as we go deeper, you will discover not just what to say, but how to embody it. Control. You will learn how to shift from pain to power, from doubt to certainty, from silence to unshakable strength. This journey will give you the courage to stand tall. Control. No matter who chooses to see and no matter who refuses. There is a moment when you realize that silence speaks louder than words. Control. His lack of recognition is not just an oversight, it is a message. And the message is this: he does not value what you bring. Control. The instinct is to take that silence as a verdict against you, but it is not. It is a reflection of where he stands, not where you belong. When someone ignores your value, control, they are showing you the limits of their vision. They are revealing the walls of their own growth. And though it hurts, it is also a gift because it gives you clarity. Control. You no longer have to waste energy wondering. You know where you stand. The greatest pain is not in being unseen. It is in believing that being unseen means you are unworthy. Control. That is the lie you must break. Your worth is not determined by his recognition, because worth is not fragile. It does not vanish when someone fails to acknowledge it. Control. Think of gold. If it is buried in the ground, hidden from sight, does it stop being gold? No, it still carries its value. Control. The difference lies in who has the wisdom to uncover it. Some men will walk over treasure their entire lives and never notice. Others will see it instantly. Control. Your responsibility is not to convince the blind. Your responsibility is to protect the treasure you carry until the right eyes recognize it. Control. Psychologists speak of self-concept, the image we hold of ourselves. When that self-concept is weak, we absorb other people's opinions as if they were truth. Control. If he ignores you, you start believing you are ignorable. If he dismisses you, you start believing you are dismissible. But here's the shift: control. When your self-concept is strong, His actions no longer define you. His silence becomes information, not condemnation. It is a signal that he cannot give you what you deserve, control. And that knowledge gives you power to walk away without fear. You may feel that speaking up will scare him away. You may fear that claiming your value will end the connection, control. But here is the secret: if your truth scares him away, he was never going to honor it anyway. What leaves when you speak your worth is not love, but illusion, control. And what remains is freedom, the freedom to attract someone who does not need convincing, someone who looks at you and sees not only your beauty, but your depth, control, your strength, your heart. Say this to yourself: I will no longer allow someone's inability to see me to become my prison. Control. I will no longer silence my needs just to keep temporary peace. I will no longer confuse neglect with love. These affirmations are not empty words, control. They are rewiring your brain. They build new pathways that strengthen confidence. They remind you that courage is not about never feeling fear, control. It is about acting in spite of it. And every time you choose to stand firm in your worth, you reprogram your mind to believe it more deeply, control. This is why staying engaged in this process matters. Because once you begin to grasp your value, control, you no longer beg for attention. You command respect without raising your voice. You no longer cling to someone who cannot love fully. You release them with dignity, control. And the more you practice this, the more you realize that the person you were waiting for to validate you was never him. It was always you, control. When you begin to recognize that your worth does not bend to the approval of another, something powerful shifts inside you. You no longer ask, control, why doesn't he see me? Instead, you ask, why am I waiting to be seen by someone who refuses to open his eyes? That shift is liberation, control. It is the moment when you stop handing the keys of your happiness to another person. It is the moment when you decide that your value is not a question to be answered, control, but a truth to be lived. Think about how much energy is wasted trying to earn what should be freely given. You overthink, you replay conversations, you adjust your behavior, control, all in the hope that he will finally notice. But recognition that has to be forced will never satisfy you. It will never feel safe, control, because it will always depend on your performance. True worth is not proven through effort, it is recognized through presence. The right man will not need you to shrink, beg, control, or twist yourself into something smaller. He will see your value because his heart is tuned to recognize it. There is a principle in psychology called reciprocity, control. We naturally give back what we receive. When you pour love, attention, and respect into someone, your heart expects it in return. When that balance is broken, you feel drained, control. You feel empty, you feel unseen. But here is where the lesson comes in. If you continue giving where there is no return, control, you are not practicing love, you are practicing self-abandonment. And abandoning yourself is the fastest way to lose the very light that makes you extraordinary, control. So instead of asking, what more can I do to make him see? Ask, what can I do to see myself more clearly? Because the moment you honor yourself, control, you stop tolerating dishonor. The moment you choose to value yourself, you create an energy that demands respect without a single word. Men can sense it. People can sense it, control. That quiet certainty becomes magnetic. It draws in those who align with it, and it pushes away those who cannot meet it. That is not rejection. It is protection, control. Imagine standing before him calm, steady, unshaken, and saying, if you cannot see my value, that is your loss. I will not shrink for your blindness, control. I will not hand over my dignity to buy your attention. I know who I am, and I will not forget it for you. These words are not spoken to wound him, control. They are spoken to heal you. They remind you that strength does not come from making him change. Strength comes from refusing to betray yourself for temporary comfort, control. The more you affirm this truth, the more you reclaim your voice. The doubt that once whispered in your mind begins to lose power. Control. The fear of being alone transforms into the confidence of standing tall. And from that place, you begin to realize that love is not about being chosen at all costs, control. Love is about mutual recognition. Love is about two people seeing each other's value and honoring it deeply. Anything less is a shadow, not the real thing. Control. This is why you must hold your head high, even when someone tries to pull you low. You must remind yourself daily, you are not asking for too much control. you are asking the wrong person. And when you finally believe that, you open the door to a life where your worth is not a question mark, control, but a crown you wear with unshakable grace. The hardest truth to accept is that not everyone you give your heart to will be capable of honoring it, control. Some men are drawn to your light but lack the maturity to handle it. They enjoy the warmth but cannot carry the responsibility, control. They admire your strength but feel intimidated by it. They taste your love but take it for granted because they assume it will always be there. This is not your failure, control. It is their limitation. And when you begin to see it that way, you stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" And you start asking, "Control. Why am I settling for someone who cannot rise to meet me?" You were not designed to shrink into someone else's comfort zone. You were designed to grow, expand, evolve, control, and become the highest version of yourself. But growth requires space, it requires air, it requires people around you who celebrate your expansion instead of fearing it, control. If a man ignores your value, he is choosing not to grow alongside you. He is telling you, without words, that he cannot or will not step into the level where you stand, control. And while that realization hurts, it also frees you because you no longer have to fight battles that were never yours to win, control. There is a psychological principle called cognitive dissonance. It's the discomfort we feel when our actions and our beliefs don't align. When you believe you are worthy, control. Yet stay with someone who ignores that worth, you feel the tension. That inner conflict drains you. It steals your peace. It keeps you up at night because deep down, control. You know you are betraying yourself. The way to resolve that dissonance is not to lower your beliefs, but to raise your actions. If you say you are worthy, control, then you must act like it. You must enforce it. You must align your behavior with the truth you claim to hold. This is where courage comes in, control. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward despite it. It is the strength to look someone in the eye and say, "Control, I will not stay where I am not valued." It is the boldness to walk away from attention that is inconsistent, love that is shallow, and effort that is one-sided, control. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you strengthen your spirit. You prove to yourself that you can survive loss, you can survive change, control, and you can survive the silence of someone who never truly saw you. And what waits on the other side of that courage is peace, control. Peace that comes from knowing you did not abandon yourself. Peace that comes from knowing you chose alignment over illusion. Peace that allows you to stand taller, control. Speak clearer, and love yourself deeper. That peace is magnetic. It attracts people who are aligned with it because energy recognizes energy, control. A man who is whole will be drawn to a woman who carries peace within her. He will not ignore your value because he will already recognize his own. So remind yourself again, control. You are not losing when someone ignores your worth. You are winning clarity. You are gaining the chance to reclaim your voice, to protect your light, control, to move forward without chains. And when you do, you no longer live at the mercy of someone else's blindness. You begin to live by the vision of your own worth, control. And that vision is what will lead you to the love and respect you truly deserve. Strength is not built in the moments when everything goes right, control. Strength is built in the moments when you are overlooked, underestimated, or dismissed, and you choose to rise instead of collapse. When a man ignores your value, control. It feels like rejection. But what it really is a test of whether you will hand over your identity to someone else's perception, control, or whether you will claim it for yourself. This test is not about him. It is about you, because the world will always give you opportunities to forget your worth, control. What matters is whether you decide to remember. Every time you choose to remember your value, you are training your mind. You are reshaping the narrative you tell yourself, control. Instead of saying, "I am not enough," you begin to say, "I am more than enough," even if he cannot see it. Instead of asking, control, "What do I need to change for him?" you begin to ask, "What do I need to change for me?" That is not selfishness. That is self-preservation, control. And self-preservation is the root of self-respect. Think of the law of focus. What you focus on expands. If you focus on his neglect, your pain grows, control. If you focus on your lack, your doubt multiplies. But if you focus on your worth, if you feed your mind with affirmations of strength and reminders of your resilience, control, that energy expands too. It grows until it becomes unshakable. It grows until it cannot be ignored, not by him, not by anyone. This is why guarding your mind is so important. Control. Because what you allow yourself to dwell on becomes the lens through which you see the world. And when your lens is clear, no one else's blindness can distort your vision. Control. You have been taught to believe that love is proven by endurance, by staying, by waiting, by fighting. But endurance without reciprocity is not love. Control. It is self-sacrifice that drains your soul. Love should not feel like begging. Love should not feel like constantly auditioning for a role that should already be yours. Control. Real love flows freely. Real love recognizes, real love values. Anything less is a counterfeit version, and counterfeits always leave you empty. Control. This is why you must dare to speak the truth when faced with neglect, not in anger, but in clarity. To look at him and say, Control, I will not stay in spaces where my worth is ignored. To declare, I do not need to convince you because I already know who I am. These words are power. Control. They set a standard. They create a boundary that no one can cross unless they are willing to meet you where you stand. Control. The beauty of this strength is that it creates ripple effects in every part of your life. Control. The same courage that allows you to walk away from neglect is the courage that will allow you to pursue your dreams, to demand respect at work. Control. To set boundaries with friends and family. It is the same voice that whispers, you are worthy of more, always. And as you practice listening to that voice, Control, you realize it has been there all along, quiet, patient, waiting for you to trust it. So stand tall. Do not shrink. Do not silence yourself for the comfort of another. Control. Speak your truth, honor your worth, and walk with the quiet confidence that the right people will never ignore what is valuable. They will recognize it, they will cherish it. Control. And they will rise to meet it. The moment you decide not to tolerate being unseen is the moment everything begins to change. Your energy shifts, your presence feels different. Control. You are no longer waiting for someone to validate you because you have already validated yourself. And when that happens, the people around you feel it. Control. They sense that you are no longer chasing approval. They sense that you are no longer willing to compromise your value just to hold on to something fragile. Control. That shift creates respect. It commands attention. It draws a line that says, if you want to stand beside me, you must rise to meet me. Control. This is the essence of self-worth. It is not loud. It is not desperate. It is not forceful. It is steady. It is calm. It is the quiet confidence that knows control. Even if you do not see me, I remain whole. Even if you turn away, I remain valuable. Even if you walk out, I remain enough. That kind of confidence cannot be shaken. Control, because it does not rest on someone else's opinion. It is built on truth, and truth does not collapse when ignored. Control. Psychology shows us that people often mirror what they believe they deserve. If you believe you deserve neglect, you will accept it. If you believe you deserve respect, control, you will demand it without even speaking. Your actions, your boundaries, your energy will communicate it for you. Control. This is why the most powerful transformation happens not in what you tell him, but in what you tell yourself. If you tell yourself you are worthy, your decisions will prove it. Control. If you tell yourself you are strong, your actions will align. And when your actions and beliefs unite, no one can take that away. Control. It is natural to fear the loss of someone who once mattered to you. The fear of loneliness whispers in your ear. Control. It tells you to accept less than you deserve because at least it is something. But that fear is a lie. Control. Loneliness is not the absence of a man. It is the absence of self-connection. When you reconnect with yourself, when you fill your own heart with love, control, when you honor your own needs, the fear of being alone dissolves. You realize that solitude is not emptiness. It is power. It is the space where you grow, where you heal, control, where you prepare for the kind of love that will never ignore your worth. So when a man disregards your value, let it be the alarm that wakes you up. Control. Let it remind you that you are not here to chase, to beg, or to prove. You are here to stand tall, to protect your light, to live from the fullness of who you are. Control. And from that fullness, you will attract relationships that reflect it. You will no longer settle for words without actions, for attention without commitment. Control. For presence without respect. You will not just hope for better. You will embody it, and that embodiment will change everything. control. The most powerful thing you can ever say in the face of neglect is not spoken with anger, but with certainty. I know my worth, control, and I will not forget it for you. That sentence is a shield. It is a declaration, control. It is the line in the sand between the woman who waits for recognition and the woman who knows she carries it within her. And once you cross that line, you will never go back, control. Every time you choose to honor your worth, you are rewriting the story of your life, control. You are no longer living as the character who waits for someone else to notice her value. You are stepping into the role of the author, control, the one who decides how the story unfolds. That shift changes everything because suddenly you are not powerless in his silence. You are powerful in your own voice, control. His failure to recognize you no longer determines your ending because you are writing a different one where your strength, your courage, control, and your dignity are the foundation of everything you create. The human mind craves certainty. It wants answers. It wants to know why he ignored you, control, why he failed to see what you gave, why he could not rise to meet your love. But you do not need every answer to move forward, control. Obsessing over the why keeps you chained to the same pain. What you need is not his explanation, but your decision, the decision to stop waiting, control. The decision to stop shrinking, the decision to live as if your value is unquestionable, because it is. That is the certainty you can control, and it is stronger than any reason he could ever give you. Neuroscience shows us that the brain builds habits through repetition, control. If you repeatedly tell yourself you are unworthy, your brain wires itself to believe it. If you repeatedly tell yourself you are powerful, capable, and valuable, control. Your brain builds those truths into its very structure. This is not fantasy, it is biology, and that means every time you choose to speak your worth, even when you feel weak, control. You are literally reshaping your mind. You are training your heart and your thoughts to align with strength. Over time, that strength becomes second nature, control. You no longer have to remind yourself you are valuable. You simply know it the same way you know how to breathe, control. This is the transformation that happens when you refuse to settle. You stop living reactively, always responding to how he treats you, and you start living proactively, control, grounded in how you treat yourself. That shift turns pain into power. It transforms silence into clarity. It gives you the freedom to say, control, I will not wait for permission to shine. I will shine because I was born to. And when you live this way, you stop fearing loss, control, because you realize you can never lose yourself. The truth is, not every man will rise to the level of your worth. Some will leave. Some will drift away. Control, some will fail to recognize what stands before them. But that is not your tragedy. It is their limitation. You are not losing love when that happens. You are losing chains, control. And in their place, you gain the wide, open space of possibility. Space to invite someone who is ready, someone who does not need convincing, control, someone who looks at you and sees not just what you offer, but who you are. So let his blindness no longer be your burden. Let it be your liberation, control. Let it be the moment you decide with unshakable resolve that you are done chasing shadows. You are done waiting to be seen, control. You are done living small to fit inside someone else's narrow vision. From this moment on, you rise, you stand tall, you speak your worth, control, and you never again apologize for being the woman who knows exactly who she is, control. There is a different kind of strength that rises when you finally stop asking for recognition and start embodying it. It is not loud, it is not defensive, it is not desperate, control. It is quiet power, the kind of power that does not beg to be noticed but cannot be ignored. That power is born when you understand that your worth has never been negotiable, control. It is not given by another, and it cannot be taken away by their blindness. It is permanent, and it is yours. When you realize this, the way you move through the world changes, control. Your posture shifts, your energy sharpens, your voice steadies. You no longer tolerate half effort, half love, or half recognition because you know you deserve the whole, control. You deserve to be loved in full measure, not in fragments. And once you know this deeply, you stop fighting for crumbs because you carry your own table, control. You stop chasing the attention that runs from you, and instead you align yourself with the respect that matches you. Psychology teaches us about self-fulfilling prophecies, control. What you expect often becomes what you experience because your behavior shapes your reality. If you expect to be ignored, you act smaller, you silence yourself, control, you accept less. And in return, you attract people who confirm that expectation. But when you expect to be valued, your entire presence shifts. You set standards, control. You enforce boundaries, you carry yourself with dignity. And because of that, people respond differently. They rise to meet the energy you radiate. This is not arrogance, control. This is alignment. It is living from the truth that you are already enough. When a man ignores your value, the greatest mistake you can make is to ignore it alongside him. Control. To forget your own worth just because he does not acknowledge it is to betray yourself twice, first by accepting neglect, and second by becoming your own neglector. Control. The antidote is radical self-recognition. Every day you must choose to see yourself, to affirm your worth, to stand in front of the mirror, not looking for flaws, control, but declaring, I am worthy of love, I am worthy of respect, I am worthy of more. These declarations may feel small at first, but they are seeds, and seeds, when nurtured, control, grow into unshakable truth. You may wonder if standing firm will drive him away. And the answer is simple. If standing in your worth makes him leave, control, he was never meant to stay. The love that is meant for you will never require you to shrink. It will never punish you for knowing your value, control. It will not fear your strength. It will celebrate it. The man who is right for you will not just notice your worth, he will honor it. He will protect it, control. He will rise to meet it because he sees in you what he has already embraced in himself. So let this truth settle deep within you. His blindness does not define you. Control. His silence does not diminish you. His neglect does not erase you. You remain whole. You remain powerful. You remain worthy. And the moment you decide to live from that truth, control, you step into a life where you no longer chase love. You attract it, not by begging, not by proving control, but by simply being the woman who knows her value and refuses to forget it. The more you step into your worth, the more you understand that silence is not something to fear, control. Silence is not a punishment, it is clarity. If a man ignores your value, his silence reveals more than words ever could. It shows you his capacity, his priorities, control, his limitations. And once you see that clearly, you no longer need to beg for answers. You already have them. The question becomes control. Will you honor yourself enough to act on what you now know? Every act of self-honor builds resilience. Resilience is not simply enduring pain, it is transforming it. Control. It is the process of taking rejection and turning it into direction. It is choosing to rise rather than crumble. Control. Psychology teaches us that resilience grows strongest when you shift your focus from what you lost to what you gained. And when a man ignores your value, control, what you gain is truth. Painful truth, yes, but truth that frees you from illusion. You are no longer stuck hoping he will change. Control. You are now empowered to change your own path. Fear will whisper to you that walking away is too hard, that setting boundaries will make you unlovable. Control. That demanding respect will leave you alone. But fear is a liar. Fear is the voice that tries to keep you small because it is comfortable in the familiar. Control. But comfort and growth cannot coexist. If you want growth, if you want love that truly honors you, you must be willing to endure the temporary discomfort of fear, control. On the other side of that fear is freedom, the kind of freedom where you no longer measure yourself by who stays or who goes. When you stand tall in your worth, control, you begin to notice something extraordinary. People treat you according to the standard you set. If your standard is low, they will give you less. If your standard is high, control, they will either rise to meet it or remove themselves. Either way, you win because you are no longer trapped in limbo, waiting for someone to decide if you are worthy. Control, you decide, you set the standard, and life aligns itself with that decision. This is the core of empowerment, realizing that your worth is not negotiable. Control. It does not fluctuate with his mood, his effort, or his blindness. It remains steady because it is rooted in truth. The more you anchor yourself in that truth, control, the less you waver. His actions may sting, but they no longer destabilize you. His silence may hurt, but it no longer defines you. His neglect may disappoint, control, but it no longer destroys you because you have already chosen to see yourself, and that vision cannot be taken from you. Control, say this to yourself until it becomes part of your being. I am not invisible. I am not forgettable. I am not disposable. I am valuable, I am powerful, control, and I am enough. These are not empty words. They are declarations that shape your identity. The more you repeat them, the more your brain accepts them, control. The more your actions reflect them, and the more your life aligns with them. So let his silence be the turning point. Let his neglect be the spark that ignites your strength, control. Let his blindness be the reminder that you no longer need his vision to define you. You already see yourself clearly, control. And that clarity is the key to unlocking a future where you are not just valued, you are cherished. The moment you embrace clarity, control, you begin to understand that value is not something you wait to be given. Value is something you embody. It is carried in how you speak, how you walk, how you choose, control, how you love yourself first. When a man ignores that, it does not strip you of it. It only exposes that he was never prepared to receive it, control. And that recognition becomes liberation because you stop wasting your energy trying to convince someone who was never ready to honor what is already undeniable, control. There is a deep strength that comes from deciding you will not negotiate with your worth. When you say, this is who I am, this is what I deserve, control, and I will not bend to fit into smaller spaces, you reclaim your life. You stop living as a reaction to his neglect and start living as an expression of your truth, control. That truth is not arrogance, it is alignment. Alignment with the fact that you were not created to be overlooked, ignored, or dismissed. You were created to live fully, control, to love deeply, and to be honored as the gift you are. Psychologists call it self-acceptance, the radical act of embracing yourself as you are without condition, control. When you practice self-acceptance, you are no longer at war with yourself. You no longer need external validation to feel whole, control, because you are grounded in your own recognition. And once you carry that wholeness, neglect no longer shatters you. It may sting, but it cannot undo you. You remain intact, control, because you are rooted in something stronger than his attention. You are rooted in your own truth. Consider how much freedom that gives you. Freedom from replaying every word, control, wondering what you could have done differently. Freedom from shrinking yourself, hoping smaller will make you easier to love. Freedom from clinging to inconsistency, control, believing it is better than nothing. That freedom is not just emotional, it is spiritual. It reconnects you with the deepest part of yourself, control. The part that has always known your worth, even when you doubted it. And the more you lean into that connection, the less you tolerate anything that dishonors it, control. This is where true power lies, not in changing him, not in forcing recognition, but in refusing to forget who you are, control. That is why the most powerful thing you can ever say when ignored is not directed at him. It is directed at yourself. To look inward and declare, control. I will not betray myself for temporary comfort. I will not abandon myself just to keep someone else. I will not forget my worth, control, no matter who chooses not to see it. These words transform you. They become the foundation of every choice you make, every step you take, every boundary you set, control. And here is the reward of living this way. You no longer chase love, you attract it. You no longer plead for respect, you command it. You no longer settle for fragments, control, because you know you deserve the whole. Life rises to meet the standard you set, and people who cannot honor it naturally fall away. That is not a loss. It is alignment, control. It is life making room for relationships that match your truth. So let his neglect no longer wound you. It awakens you, control. Let his blindness no longer confuse you. It clarifies you. Let his silence no longer imprison you. It frees you because you have already chosen to see yourself, control. And once you see yourself clearly, no one can ever make you invisible again. When you no longer allow yourself to be made invisible, control. Something extraordinary happens. You begin to radiate a presence that cannot be ignored. It is not about trying harder or being louder or proving more, control. It is about carrying yourself with such certainty that others feel it before you even speak. That certainty comes from within, control. It is built every time you choose to honor yourself instead of waiting for someone else to do it, control. It grows stronger each time you walk away from neglect and step toward dignity. It becomes unshakable when you realize that love is not about convincing, control. It is about recognition. This recognition begins with you because the truth is the world will only mirror what you believe about yourself. If you believe you are unworthy, control, life will send people who confirm it. If you believe you are valuable, life will align with that belief. This is not magic, it is psychology. Human beings respond to energy, control, and your energy is shaped by your self belief. That is why standing firm in your worth is not just about relationships, it is about shaping your entire reality. Control. When you choose to believe deeply in your own value, you begin to attract opportunities, respect, and love that align with it. But this choice requires courage. Control. Courage to face the fear of rejection. Courage to endure the discomfort of letting go. Courage to trust that by walking away from what dishonors you, control, you are walking towards something greater. And every time you exercise that courage, you grow stronger. Control. You begin to see that the pain of being ignored cannot compare to the pain of ignoring yourself. Betrayal from others hurts. Control. But the deepest betrayal is abandoning your own truth. And once you refuse to do that, no one can break you. Affirm this within yourself. Control. I am not here to beg for recognition. I am here to embody it. I am not here to prove my worth. I am here to live it. These are not empty words. Control. They are declarations of identity. The more you speak them, the more they become your reality. They rewire your thinking, they reshape your choices. Control, and they redefine your standards. And soon you no longer question if you are enough. You know it. You no longer wonder if someone sees you. You see yourself. Control. And that is enough to change everything. There will always be those who cannot rise to meet your worth. They will ignore it, dismiss it, or run from it. Control. But their blindness does not define your brilliance. Their silence does not erase your truth. Their absence does not diminish your presence. You remain whole. Control. You remain valuable. You remain powerful. And when you stand in that truth, control, you begin to realize that the love you deserve is not rare. It is simply waiting for you to stop settling for less. So lift your head, breathe deeply, walk with certainty. Control. You do not need to demand recognition when you embody it. You do not need to beg for love when you are love in motion. Control. You do not need to fear neglect when you have already chosen not to neglect yourself. Because the woman who sees her own worth cannot be broken by a man who doesn't. Control. She rises, she stands tall, and she becomes unstoppable. Control. The strength you carry becomes undeniable when you stop looking outward for confirmation and start rooting yourself inward. Control. That inner grounding creates a force that cannot be shaken by neglect. You realize that the power to define your worth has always belonged to you. Control. Not to the one who overlooked you. And with that realization comes liberation, the freedom to stop waiting, stop explaining, and stop proving. Control. You step into the fullness of who you are, and in that fullness, you are untouchable. Neglect loses its power the moment you refuse to participate in it. Control. His silence cannot wound you when your own voice is louder. His blindness cannot diminish you when your own vision is clearer. Control. What once felt like rejection begins to feel like revelation. You see the truth. He is not ignoring you because you lack worth. Control. He is ignoring you because he lacks the capacity to see it. And that clarity transforms pain into strength because now you know it is not about you. It is about him. Control. Psychologists speak of internal versus external locus of control. When your sense of value depends on external approval, you live at the mercy of others. Control. But when you shift to an internal locus of control, you take back your power. You decide who you are. You decide what you deserve. You decide how you will be treated. Control. This shift is life-changing because it means that no man's neglect, no man's silence, no man's blindness can dictate your worth. That power has already returned home. Control. Back into your hands where it always belonged. And once you claim it, everything changes. Your energy feels different. Your standards rise. Your boundaries become clear. Control. You no longer tolerate half love or half effort because you know your heart was never designed for fragments. You were created for fullness, for depth, for real recognition. Control. And when you carry that knowing, people feel it. They either rise to meet it or they fall away. And both outcomes serve you because both protect your worth. Control. This is where confidence becomes natural, not forced. You are not trying to act strong. You are simply living in truth. You are not pretending to be unbothered. Control. You are genuinely free. And that freedom is magnetic. It pulls into your life people and opportunities that align with your truth. Control. Because you have stopped accepting anything less. You are no longer waiting for the world to see you. You are leading with the vision you have of yourself. Control. Repeat these words until they become part of your soul. I am not defined by neglect. I am defined by truth. I am not diminished by silence. I am strengthened by clarity. Control. I am not bound by blindness. I am liberated by self-vision. These affirmations are not just words, they are anchors. They keep you steady when the waves of doubt crash. Control. They keep you standing tall when rejection tries to push you down. They remind you that your worth is permanent, unshakable, and untouchable. Control. So let this be the standard you set from this moment forward. No longer will you measure yourself by who fails to see you. Control. No longer will you question your value in the face of neglect. No longer will you chase what runs from you, because you have chosen to stand in the fullness of your worth. Control. And once you choose that, nothing and no one can take it away. Control. The greatest turning point comes when you stop asking why someone failed to see your worth and start asking why you ever questioned it in the first place. Control. That shift is powerful because it reclaims the energy you once wasted on confusion, disappointment, and longing. Instead of wondering what's wrong with you, control, you begin to see what's right with you. Instead of replaying moments of neglect, you begin to focus on the unshakable truth that you were never meant to be overlooked. Control. This shift is not just emotional, it is transformational. It awakens a new vision for your life, one where you no longer shrink to fit into someone's blindness. Control, but expand into the fullness of who you are. Every time you let go of a person who ignores your value, you are making space for someone who will honor it. That space is sacred. Control, it is not empty. It is preparation. It is the clearing that allows your life to align with people, opportunities, and experiences that reflect your worth. Control. And while it may feel lonely at first, that loneliness is not a punishment. It is an invitation to rediscover your voice, to reclaim your power, control, and to rise into the woman who no longer waits for validation but embodies it. Control. Psychology teaches us about the power of self-concept. The way we see ourselves determines how we behave, and how we behave determines what we attract. Control. If you see yourself as unworthy, you will unconsciously tolerate neglect. But if you see yourself as valuable, you will act from that value. You will speak differently, control, move differently, and choose differently. You will not beg to be noticed. You will expect to be respected. And that expectation is not arrogance. It is alignment with truth. Control. The truth is this: your worth was never diminished when he ignored you. It was revealed. His blindness highlighted your brilliance. His silence amplified your voice. Control. His neglect pointed you back to yourself. And while that pain was real, it was also purposeful. Control. It taught you that the most dangerous thing you could ever do is abandon yourself for the sake of being chosen. Because the moment you choose yourself fully, control, you break the cycle forever. Say it within yourself now: I will no longer abandon myself to be loved. I will no longer shrink to be accepted. Control. I will no longer silence my truth to keep someone else comfortable. Let those words sink into your soul until they shape every decision you make. Control. Because when you live by them, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop waiting and start creating. You stop begging and start becoming. Control. And that is when life begins to shift in your favor. Do not underestimate the power of this decision. It may feel small, but it is life-changing. Control. The moment you decide that you will never again question your worth in the face of someone's neglect, you step into a higher level of strength. You become unshakable, control, undeniable, unstoppable. You no longer just hope for love, you embody it. You no longer just dream of respect, you command it. And the world responds. Control. Because nothing is more magnetic than a person who knows their value and refuses to compromise it. When you realize that being ignored does not define you, but liberates you, control, everything changes. You begin to understand that rejection is not the end of your story, but the redirection of it. Control. Every man who overlooks you is unknowingly pushing you closer to the life where you are celebrated, not tolerated. Control. The pain of being dismissed becomes the fuel that sets you free. It forces you to stop living in someone else's shadow and step into your own light. Control. That light is where your strength is revealed, where your confidence is built, and where your future is waiting. The human mind is wired to seek approval. We crave belonging, control. We crave acceptance. We crave recognition. But the tragedy comes when we make the mistake of believing our worth depends on someone else's ability to give it to us. Control. That is where heartbreak begins, when we hand the key to our identity into the hands of someone who cannot see us. The truth is, you do not need their approval to be whole. Control. You do not need their validation to be powerful. You do not need their acknowledgement to shine. You only need to reclaim the key, unlock yourself, control, and live from the truth that you are already enough. Think about it. How many times have you bent yourself out of shape? Control. Trying to earn the attention of someone who still chose to look away. How many nights have you questioned if you were doing too much or not enough? Control. When the real problem was never you, that cycle ends the moment you see it clearly. Neglect is not a mirror of your worth. It is a mirror of their blindness. Control. And blindness cannot be healed by you. It is not your job to open eyes that refuse to see. It is your job to keep walking in your vision. Control. To honor yourself so deeply that their inability to value you no longer disturbs your peace. When you adopt that mindset, everything shifts. Control. You stop clinging to what was never meant to hold you. You stop replaying conversations that will never change. Control. You stop waiting for someone else to finally see what you already know. Instead, you rise into the woman who speaks with clarity, who walks with dignity, control, who chooses with power. You rise into the woman who no longer tolerates the bare minimum because she knows the fullness she deserves. That rise is magnetic, control, and it draws into your life people who recognize, respect, and cherish you without being asked. This is not about arrogance. This is about alignment, control. This is about aligning your actions with the truth that you are worthy of love, worthy of respect, and worthy of being chosen without hesitation, control. When you live from that alignment, you no longer need to fight for attention. You no longer need to beg for scraps, control. You become the kind of woman whose presence speaks louder than any words could because your energy declares what you will and will not accept control. So let his silence be your clarity. Let his neglect be your teacher. Let his blindness be the reason you stop dimming yourself, control. Because the moment you no longer take it personally, you unlock a freedom that no rejection can ever steal. That freedom is where your true power begins, control. It is where your heart heals. It is where your future opens wide. And once you step into it, control, you will never again question your worth in the face of someone else's failure to see it, control. There is a moment every strong person faces where they realize that silence is not punishment, but protection, control. The quiet that comes when someone ignores your worth is not an empty space. It is an invitation to fill it with your own voice, control. The neglect you once feared becomes the opportunity you needed to finally speak your truth without hesitation. And that truth is simple yet unstoppable, control. You are not here to be an option. You are here to be a priority. You are not here to chase. You are here to attract. You are not here to be overlooked, control. You are here to stand out. When a man fails to recognize your value, it is not your responsibility to convince him. Convincing drains you, persuading exhausts you, control, and chasing robs you of dignity. What honors you most is clarity. Clarity is when you look at his indifference and say, if you cannot see me, control, then I will not lower myself to make you look harder. That sentence is more powerful than anger, more powerful than begging, more powerful than tears. Control. It is the sound of a woman who refuses to reduce herself. It is the declaration of someone who has finally chosen herself over the illusion of being chosen by another. Control. And understand this psychology shows us that people value what they must work to keep. When you make yourself endlessly available, when you bend without boundaries, control. When you tolerate being overlooked, you unknowingly train others to believe your value is negotiable. But the moment you set the standard, control, the moment you stop making excuses for disrespect, the dynamic changes. You transform from someone who accepts crumbs into someone who expects a seat at the table, control. That shift rewires how others treat you, but more importantly, it rewires how you treat yourself. Self-respect is magnetic. Confidence is irresistible, control. Dignity is unforgettable. When you embody these, you no longer have to demand recognition. It comes naturally. And if it does not, you are unshaken, control, because your worth is not up for debate. This is the power that comes when you finally decide that your peace matters more than his presence, control, that your joy matters more than his attention, that your future matters more than his validation. That decision is where freedom is born. You must understand control. Love that is real does not require you to shrink. Respect that is real does not ask you to beg. Value that is real does not force you to wait for crumbs. Control. Anything that requires you to abandon yourself in order to receive it is not love. It is dependency dressed in disguise. And dependency is a trap. It keeps you small. Control. Keeps you insecure, keeps you doubting your reflection in the mirror. The only way out of that trap is to step fully into your own power, to say the words that set you free. Control. I will no longer fight for a place in the life of someone who does not fight for me. When those words leave your lips, something shifts inside of you. Control. You feel the weight drop. You feel the chains break. You feel your spirit rise. That rise is the beginning of a new chapter. Control. One where you no longer wait for recognition, but live as though you already have it, because you do. Every breath you take, every step you make, control. Every dream you hold proves your worth. The world is waiting for you to own it. And the moment you do, no silence, control, no rejection will ever have the power to take it away.